The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
And good morning here at 5 a.m. Good to have you with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher. Breaking news overnight. One man is dead after a motorcycle crash in Southwest Bakersfield. First responders were called to the area of White Lane and Ash Road for a report of a crash around 7:30. When they arrived, they found a car had crashed into a motorcycle, throwing the rider to the ground.
Unfortunately, medical aid arrived on scene and pronounced the motorcyclist deceased. The motorcyclist is an adult, about 27 years of age. He was riding a Yamaha motorcycle, and the driver was driving I believe a Nissan Armada type vehicle.
Bakersfield police say it does not appear that drugs, alcohol, or speeding played roles in the crash. The investigation's ongoing.
New details this morning on a probation check that turned into a SWAT standoff in East Bakersfield. According to police, probation officers went to a home on Miller Street around 1 o'clock Friday afternoon to serve a warrant to a man believed to be armed with a weapon. As officers approached the front door, they saw Jeffrey McFadden holding what they believed to be a gun. Instead, police say it was a replica firearm. When McFadden refused to come out, the BPD SWAT team was called in. Officials say McFadden, who is on probation, was eventually taken into custody with the help of a police canine.
5:04 now. Gunfire interrupted a funeral at Union Cemetery Friday afternoon as a family was bidding farewell to their loved one. Witnesses say a car pulled up around 2 o'clock and someone inside opened fire. No one was hit, but those in attendance were understandably shaken.
Chaos. People start falling down, laying down. We got old people out here, got children, got kids. You know what I'm saying? But no respect. It was over, looking around to see what anyone hit. You know what I'm saying? Terrified.
The funeral was for a woman in her 60s. Several nearby schools were placed on lockdown for a short time. No arrests have been made.
The retrial of the penalty phase for former Kern County Deputy David Keith Rogers, who had allegedly killed a woman and teen in the 1980s, has been postponed to early next year. Rogers' defense counsel requested the postponement to meet with prosecutors and review the evidence they plan to introduce at trial. That trial had been scheduled for October 18th, but was moved to January 24th. Prosecutors are again seeking death for the 74-year-old Rogers, whose death sentence was overturned in 2019 after the state Supreme Court found a prosecution witness falsely testified he had sexually assaulted her. The prosecution used the woman's testimony during its closing argument in the penalty phase. His convictions on 2 counts of first-degree murder remain intact.
Bakersfield Track Club has settled a lawsuit with the family of an attorney who collapsed and died 4 years ago during a 5K at Hart Park in 107-degree heat. The terms of the settlement reached in the death of defense lawyer Benjamin Greene were not disclosed. The 48-year-old Greene started experiencing medical complications while running in the 5K held by the club in 2017. He went to a first aid station and was receiving treatment when he collapsed. He was rushed to Kern Medical, where he later died.
The Bakersfield Police Department has received nearly $500,000 to expand traffic safety efforts within the city. BPD says it received 2 grants from the California Office of Traffic Safety, totaling $433,000. Officials say the funding will go toward a variety of traffic safety programs, including DUI checkpoints, enforcement operations, and bicycle and pedestrian safety. Over the past 10 years, BPD says the number of pedestrians killed has increased dramatically, accounting for nearly a quarter of all roadway deaths.
5:06 your time now, and the 4th annual Streets of Bakersfield Cruise and Shine had downtown Bakersfield flooded with thousands of spectators this weekend. The show had it all, Model Ts to Mustangs and even military trucks and old school ambulances. Car owners were able to show off their rides while knowing their registration fees are going to charities in need.
This is a good cause. It's a good way to help Bakersfield out, and at the same time we show how proud we are of our vehicles here in Bakersfield.
The show saw about 400 vehicles total. 100% of the profit will be donated to local Kern County charities like the Wounded Heroes Fund.
And another group hit the road for a good cause on Saturday as the Sikh Riders of America hosted their annual motorcycle ride around Bakersfield. The group started the ride at Harley-Davidson in Northwest Bakersfield, cruising to their final destination at Lake Ming. The Sikh riders served breakfast and lunch along with the trip, raising money for fundraisers, including the local chapter of the American Legion.
We were raising money for MAD, Kern County's 999 Foundation, Kern River Blue Star Moms. Oh, I feel so good. This was the biggest turnout we ever had. Today we donated $8,000, $2,000 to each charity.
The group says they're already planning their 10th annual event next year.
And time's running out to get your adoption fees waived at Kern County Animal Services. State Assemblyman Vince Fong's helping Kern residents find new furry friends by covering the cost for the first 100 pet adoptions this month. 71 animals have been adopted so far, so you still have time to find your own. You can find the shelter at 3951 Fruitvale Avenue.
Friends, family, and colleagues mourned the loss and celebrated the life of Bakersfield physician Mark Root on Friday. The 65-year-old was killed in a motorcycle accident on the Westside Parkway last month. Those closest to him say he was a compassionate man, a devoted husband and father, and brilliant physician.
His passion for quality patient care. He brought in our laborist program, so we have 24 hours, 7-day coverage for people to deliver babies, obstetricians, which will leave a legacy for such a long time. And thirdly, just a really nice guy.
I tell you, he was the most genuine, down-to-earth person you would ever meet. You always felt welcome, and he always made you feel important, and he was just such an easy person to talk to. From the first time we met, the thing that was our common bond initially was airplanes.
Mark Root was an OBGYN in Bakersfield for the better part of 30 years. He leaves behind a wife and 3 children. In lieu of flowers, the Root family asks that you consider donating to the JDRF or the Bakersfield Catholic Education Foundation in care of the Mark Root Memorial Scholarship at Garces High School.
Recapping our top stories this Monday morning, one man's dead after a motorcycle crash in Southwest Bakersfield. It happened last night around 7:30 in the area of White Lane and Ash Road. BPD says alcohol, drugs, and speeding do not appear to be factors in this crash. Bakersfield Track Club has settled a lawsuit with the family of defense lawyer Benjamin Greene, who collapsed and died 4 years ago during a 5K at Hart Park in 107-degree heat. The terms of the settlement were not disclosed. Pacific Gas and Electric announced it will begin turning off power today in 20 different counties due to a dry offshore wind event. The impacted area here in Kern is just east of Comanche Drive, north of the 58. PG&E customers in that area should prepare to have their power shut off around noon.
Well, there is some good news when it comes to COVID-19 here in the U.S. The nation's rate of positive tests and hospitalizations is falling. Health officials are hopeful the death rate will also soon decline, but some areas are doing better than others. NBC's Chris Pallone explains.
Alex, good morning. Some cherished traditions are back as the nation emerges from the latest COVID-19 surge. Health officials hope that vaccines will prevent another wave as we head towards the holidays. In Boston, the city's iconic marathon is back for the first time in 2.5 years.
I am so excited to be here and that Boston is back.
Sunday, 35,000 runners took to the streets of Chicago.
They're making their way around the corner.
Signs of normal during a pandemic which has redefined the word. But now more hope that perhaps the worst of the Delta surge has passed. New infections down 40% since peak levels a month ago. The president's top COVID advisor hopeful deaths will follow a similar path.
I strongly suspect that you're going to start seeing the deaths go down similar to the hospitalizations.
But the news isn't good in every part of the country. In the 4 largest states, cases are dropping. But in the upper Midwest and Great Plains, they're seeing double-digit jumps. One Michigan doctor worried about a grim future in his area.
I'm honestly, in no hyperbole, terrified of what might come to pass in December, January, February around here. Because truly, that's when we see people all heading inside and getting together.
Dr. Fauci says that doesn't have to happen.
It won't if we do what we should be doing, namely particularly getting more people vaccinated.
But that's been an uphill battle. About a quarter of eligible Americans still haven't gotten their first shot.
That's why I've had to move toward requirements.
Mandates are facing strong objections in some areas. But for now, the news is generally good, with an uncertain future on the horizon. The FDA and CDC will meet towards the end of the month to determine whether the Pfizer vaccine can be given to children between the ages of 5 and 12. If approved, That would make about 30 million more children who can get the vaccine before the holidays. In Washington, Chris Pallone, 17 News.
And now to a grim update from Public Health Friday as we learned of another 9 lives lost due to coronavirus. 1,582 people have died from the virus since the start of the pandemic here at home. Public Health also announced 427 new cases on Friday. 235 people were listed as in the hospital and 69 fighting for their lives in intensive care units. Data continues to show the best way to protect yourself and others is to take a COVID vaccine. Public Health says just 0.31% of fully vaccinated Kern residents have tested positive for the virus. Meantime, just 0.012% of fully vaccinated people in the county have been hospitalized. There have been 1,177 breakthrough cases total. And that's why Kern Public Health is once again issuing or using the fairgrounds as a vaccine clinic. The walk-up clinic will be open tomorrow through Friday, 10:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pfizer vaccines will be available for everyone 12 and up. You're encouraged to make an appointment at myturn.ca.gov. You can also visit Kern Public Health's website for an interactive map showing all vaccination locations throughout the county.
Drug maker Merck this morning said it has submitted an application to the FDA to authorize what would be the first antiviral pill to treat COVID-19. An approval for the drug molnupiravir would be a milestone in the fight against coronavirus. Experts say because of a convenient, relatively inexpensive treatment could reach many more high-risk people sick with COVID. The company announced earlier this month that its experimental COVID-19 pill reduced hospitalizations and deaths by half in people infected with the virus. The Biden administration is preparing for an authorization that could come within weeks.
No tricks, just treats. That's a Halloween hunch from our nation's top infectious disease expert. Dr. Anthony Fauci says families can feel safe trick-or-treating outdoors this year for Halloween. Yesterday, Fauci encouraged kids to go out there and enjoy the holiday, adding those who want to celebrate should consider getting vaccinated if they haven't done so. The director of the CDC also said outdoor trick-or-treating would be safe for kids, though encouraged people to avoid crowded Halloween parties.
Crews fanned out on the coast of Newport Beach this weekend, continuing to pick up oil on the beach. The spill from a suspected leak in an underwater pipeline has littered the coast with tar balls. Several beaches along the coast have been closed because of the oil spill. Lieutenant Aidan Letty Phillips of the Coast Guard says they have been working with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration to determine how the weather will impact where the oil might be headed. She says the teams have been effective at picking up oil along the beach in Newport.
Here on the beach in Newport, we've mostly been finding some smaller tar balls, stuff, maybe quarter size, maybe smaller, a couple of larger ones, but really they've been very effective in making sure that they're removing the product.
She says there are more than 1,300 people working to clean up the oil.
4 firefighters injured while fighting the KNP complex fire north of Kern County are back home after being treated at the hospital. Thursday afternoon, crews received reports that a tree had fallen and hit the 4 firefighters who were working on the south end of the fire. All 4 had to be airlifted. Friday afternoon, National Park officials confirmed that the 4 firefighters were treated and released. So far, the KNP complex fire has burned more than 87,000 acres and is 20% contained. Meantime, fire crews in Tulare County are expanding their containment of the Windy Fire. That fire has burned more than 97,000 acres, but containment is now at 82%. Nearly 1,300 personnel are working to keep the Windy Fire from spreading, and officials estimate total containment by Thursday.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.